Good morning, I am Manuel Zarzo, and in this unit about ANOVA, I will explain one particular example about one-factor ANOVA. Good, so this is a simplified example compared with the previous video. Imagine that we have three suppliers of batteries for laptops, and the previous video we had 10 values from each supplier. In this case, let's imagine that we have just 5 values, just to make it easier for the calculations. Okay, so we have 3 possible suppliers that we will call SA, SB, and SC. And then these are the values obtained experimentally from everyone. So first we make the average of the 5 values, and what we want to study is if there are differences at the population level between them. We will consider alpha 5%, which is the most common in statistics. Well, this is the hypothesis that the 3 populations have the same average. Then the grand mean, which is the average of the 15 values, is this 15.33. Okay, and then we make the sum of squares total. I presented the formula previously in another video, so it's the sum of every value minus the grand mean squared. We have 15 values, so we apply this formula, and then we get the value 93.3. Okay, and then we have the decomposition of sum of squares. We compute the sum of squares of the residual as sum of squares total minus sum of squares of the factor. So the next step is to compute the sum of squares of the factor. Okay, so these are the shared values. So what is the best prediction? So let's think. So I have obtained a sample from the first supplier, and these are the first values that I have obtained experimentally. If in case I take another value, the best prediction that I can give for that new value would be the average of these 5 values that I already have. Okay, so the average is the best prediction. The average of this for B is the best prediction, and so on. And then we apply the formula. Value predicted minus the grand mean squared. We have to sum for the 15 value, and this is why I multiplied by 5. Okay, so for this value and for these 5 values, value predicted minus grand mean squared. Okay, this is why I multiply by 5. Good. So we sum, and this is the sum of squares of the factor, the formula that I explained in the previous video. Then this is the ANOVA table. Very important. This is the first time that I explain the ANOVA table, and we will see that in a lot of exercises. It's like an organized way to put the formulas that I have explained. So we start. The first step is sum of squares total that we have just computed. The next step is the sum of squares of the factor, which is this value. Okay. Then residual is obtained as a difference. So 93.3 minus 63.3 is 30. Then degrees of freedom total. We have 15 values, so 15 minus 1 is 14. So for the factor is number of variants minus 1. So we have 3 variants, which means 3 suppliers. So 3 minus 1 is 2. And then by difference, we will compute the residual degrees of freedom. In this case is 12. Then remember that we have to divide the sum of squares by the degrees of freedom, and this is called mean squares. We have mean squares of the factor and residual mean squares. And then finally, we divide both mean squares, and this is called F ratio, because it follows a Fisher's distribution. Then we have to figure out if this value is frequent or not frequent for this distribution. Okay, so the numerator has 2 degrees of freedom. The denominator has 12 degrees of freedom. So we have to go to the Fisher table with 2 degrees of freedom in the numerator, 12 in the denominator, and then alpha. Alpha usually is 5%. Okay, so in this case, we consider alpha 5%, and the critical value from the table is 3.89. Okay, what happens? So it happens that the F ratio that we obtained was much higher than the critical value. So, so the conclusion is that we reject the null hypothesis. There is enough evidence to say that the 3 averages are not equal at the population level. Okay, we reject this. But what is the conclusion? Can we say that the three averages are different at the population level? Well, not necessarily. It can be that A and B have the same average at the population, but different from C, or A equal to C and different from B, or B equal to C and different from A. Okay, so the idea is that there is only a single null hypothesis, but there are many kind of possible alternative hypotheses. So we have not finished the analysis because we have to decide what is the conclusion. Okay, so the conclusion is that at least one population mean is significantly different from the rest. But which one? So we have to compute the LSD intervals according to the formulas that I explained in the previous video. Okay, this is the formula. Then remember that I explained that K is the number of data that we use to compute every average. In this case, K equals 5. And then dF here is the degrees of freedom of the residual. So 12 degrees of freedom for the residual. We go to the table of the student t distribution, alpha halves, and then the critical value is 2.18. Okay, and then we apply the formula. We apply the formula for the first supplier. The average was 13 plus minus this. Okay, we have this, the same. So we obtain an interval which is 13 plus minus 1.09. Okay, and this is the interval. The same for B. We apply the formula, we get a different interval, the same for C. Then we have to plot them graphically. It becomes very useful. And then we have to check if they overlap or not. Okay, in this case, there is a small overlap between A and B. It doesn't matter if the overlap is small or big. Just in this case, there is some small overlap. So we can say that the differences between A and B are not significantly statistically significant. So we have to say this. So this would be the solution. So the first interval does not overlap with C. The second interval does not overlap with C. So we can say that they are significantly lower. But as there is some kind of overlap between A and B, we cannot say that their averages are significantly different. And so this is a way to put the solution. Okay. Then, what happens in case of ANOVA with a quantitative factor? Okay. For example, imagine that we carry out an experiment to determine the optimum pesticide dose. Okay. Imagine that we have a pest, an insect that we want to kill, and then we test pesticide dose at 3 levels, okay, 3 amounts of the dose. We want to control some kind of insect. Okay, so what we measure is related to the pest population after the treatment. So we test dose equal 3, 6, and 9, which means 3, then double the dose and triple dose. Okay, imagine that we have different kind of replicates or repetitions. The value is related with the amount of the pest after the treatment. So we want that this value should be as low as possible. Okay, so what dose would you recommend to minimize the insect population? We can make a plot with the values, and this is what we have. If the dose 1, the population is very big, so it was not very effective. The insect population is still very high. But if for the dose of 6 and 9, the amount of pest population is quite similar. If we make ANOVA and then if we make the LSD intervals, they overlap. Okay, so what can we say? What dose would you recommend to minimize the pest population? Well, based on the LSD intervals, as they overlap, we will say that the differences between 6 and 9 are not statistically significant. It means that it doesn't matter to choose 6 or 9. Then we will say, probably we will choose 6 because it's cheaper. Lower the dose means that the treatment is not so expensive. Okay, 6 or 9, but probably we will choose 6. But in this case, this is a special case because the factor is quantitative. Then the interest is not so much to study differences in the mean of the 3 doses. The interest in this case is to study if there is a relationship between X and Y. Okay, so the study of this relationship is the main interest in this case, and not so much the comparison between the level of 3, 6, and 9. Okay, so the null hypothesis of ANOVA, as you know, is that the average at the population level of those 3 equal to those 6 equal to those 9. Okay, but in regression, what we're going to do is to fit a model. In this case, as we can see that the fit like the shape of a curve. It's not just a straight line. It follows somewhat the shape of a curve. This is why I'm putting here a quadratic equation. Okay, so the null hypothesis is going to be that the coefficient B is 0 and the coefficient C is 0. You can see how the null hypothesis is totally different for ANOVA and for regression. In this case, we will fit a model like this, and if we can demonstrate that this null hypothesis is rejected and also that this hypothesis is rejected, so we will have the mathematical equation of this curve, and then based on this equation we can determine the optimum dose, and probably we will end up having that for dose 9 the expected dependent variable is lower than for dose 6. So this is interesting because for ANOVA we will say that there are no differences between 6 and 9 and we will choose 6, but for regression we will conclude that the dose 9 is the best. So this example is interesting because the conclusion is different according to the method that we are using, and in statistics it's very important. So when we have data, also we can treat the data with different techniques, but it is also very important to choose the right technique for every case. In this case, we can choose ANOVA or regression, but the best method is regression. Okay, so it makes more sense to analyze the data, in this case with regression, in the case of quantitative factors. And here I finish this video about ANOVA with this example of one-factor ANOVA.